Strategies for Educators. I created this session in response to a request in my district for more wellness opportunities and professional development focused on educators' wellness and the adults in our school districts. We all probably have a lot of things in place these days for the students and the children on our campuses. After the last several years of stress in their lives, we recognize the need to support students with social and emotional learning. However, have we done the same thing for those of us adults on campus? Well, we must make a conscious, deliberate effort to take care of ourselves, or we are no good to the children in our lives and the other people around us. And it's no longer enough to depend on the routines that we used to rely on prior to the pandemic and all of the other stresses of the last few years, because the world has changed and our needs have changed. And so now we might need to enhance or add to the strategies that we had and that we assumed were enough. And that's what this session will be about. I agree that wellness and social emotional health should be a system-wide priority for all of us, children and adults. However, sometimes that's not in our control. And certainly today, that's not in my control to affect for you. So our focus in this session will be on what you can do for you.
Hi there, I'm Mary Martin, and I work in Carlsbad Unified School District in Southern California. I'm a teacher on special assignment currently, but I spent many years as an English teacher at middle school. And somewhere along that route, I found yoga, and I really enjoyed what it brought to my life. And so in 2012, I decided to get my certification to teach yoga so I could share it with others. And my first yoga students were actually the teachers at my school. I offered free yoga classes after school to teachers and staff so that I could hone my practice. Like many of you, I have a very busy life. I have a family and I like to travel, and I have a very full-time job. And so fitting in yoga or anything for my own wellness can be very difficult. And so I want to tell you that I am no expert at this. But what I'd like to share with you today are just some of the little simple strategies and practices that are easy to fit into a daily routine and that I have found to be helpful.
First of all, let's just check in and see where you are right now. If you'd like to close your eyes, you're welcome to, or keep them open, but take a moment to notice how you're feeling in your body. Maybe your neck is a little stiff. Maybe you're feeling a little fidgety. If you need to, roll your wrists or stretch your neck or set aside something in your hands, please feel free to. Notice how you're breathing. When you came to this session, were you in a hurry, rushing? Maybe you're breathing a little bit shallow and quickly. And finally, notice what's on your mind from your day so far. What are you bringing with you mentally? Maybe you have a to-do list that's on your mind, or what's going to happen after this. And all of that is okay. What you bring with you is just the truth of where you are right now. But I invite you to acknowledge any discomforts and distractions and give yourself permission to set them aside for the next 45 minutes or so. They'll be there for you to deal with after this session is over. So for now, give yourself permission to just be here now. This time is for you. Stress is a part of life that we can't completely get rid of, but these last few years have been particularly stressful in the world of education. And educators have stepped up and risen to the occasion and done everything in their power to be there for their students and to make things as good and normal as possible in extraordinary circumstances. And that is very stressful. And here's the thing. We do have a biological response to stress, which is good. It's called the sympathetic nervous system, and it controls our fight or flight response, which is helpful if we need to react quickly in an emergency situation, such as if we need to hit the brakes quickly in the car. But it is damaging to our health to persist in this state over the long term. It is a situation in our body where we have higher heart rate and blood pressure. I'm sure you've noticed that. If you are in an emergency, you can feel your heart pounding, you can feel the adrenaline rushing. Our body produces those stress hormones such as cortisol and lactic acid based on stress. And over time, that can cause our heart to be stressed out, our circulatory system to be stressed out, and eventually for us to have a state of fatigue. So none of that's good over the long term. But the good news is we can train our bodies to handle stress better, especially when it's not truly an emergency. We can use a calming breath, and it's one that we can practice regularly and then retrain our body to react less to stress. It's also called diaphragmatic breathing, and it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, activating the opposing reaction to calm our bodies, like hitting the brakes on the fight or flight response. And if we do a diaphragmatic breathing practice or a calming breath regularly, we actually can train our bodies not to react in the fight or flight mode when it's not really necessary. And over time, this has benefits on us and our health. It can help us lower our heart rate and blood pressure, good things, and reduce the production of those stress hormones, and allow for an increased balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in the blood. And over time, help us experience increased energy. So I'm going to walk you through a practice breathing exercise called the calming breath. So let's practice deep diaphragmatic breathing. You can do this seated. Eyes can be closed or your gaze softened. First of all, place your feet flat on the floor, hip width apart, and sit up in a gentle, relaxed position, but with the spine aligned. Think of a string that runs from the base of your spine all the way up through the back of your neck, through the crown of your head. And if someone were to gently tug on that string, how would it bring you up just a little bit taller? But shoulders are softened. Your hands can be gently resting on your thighs or the arms of the chair. And think of your torso as a pitcher of water. So as we breathe, we're going to fill that pitcher from the belly up. We're going to fill the belly first and feel it expand. And then as we take in more air, we're going to feel the chest expand. So we're filling from the belly up. And that's how we get a deep diaphragmatic breath. So begin by inhaling and just feeling how that feels. Maybe place a hand on your belly so you can really feel it expand. Now place a hand on your chest, and this time as you inhale, take in more air to fill the belly and then the chest. And notice how as we do that, we may be taking breath in several different increments, and that's okay. That's how we're going to learn to breathe more deeply. And you can be breathing through your nose or your mouth, whatever is more comfortable for you. And this time, we're going to count our breath. See if you can inhale to a count of 3 or 4. And then as you exhale, elongate the exhale so it's the same count of 3 or 4. Inhaling. Exhaling. Feel free to make sound. It's kind of like a gentle snore. Some people call it a Darth Vader breath. You don't have to close the mouth and breathe through the nose, but if you do, that does warm the air. So let's do a cycle of breath here, eyes open or closed, but go into a soft, mindful place. And begin by filling that belly, then expanding the chest, and then exhaling it out nice and long and slow. And as you inhale, sit a little taller. And as you exhale, soften the shoulders. And again. See if you can slow that down and inhale to a count of 5 or 6. And the same on the exhale. Practice this again a few more times for yourself, going at your own pace. You know what your body is capable of and what feels good to you, so see what you can do to enhance your current breathing practice. Elongating the spine on the inhale, softening the shoulders on the exhale. Last time, filling that picture from the bottom up and letting it all out. So as you come out of that calming breath, continue to breathe naturally, but hopefully your breath is at a more relaxed pace and deeper as well, even though it's not a controlled breath. Open your eyes if you had them closed, but notice how you're feeling right now. Check in with the emotions you're experiencing. Every emotion is welcome, so give yourself permission to be exactly as you are. Perhaps you're calmer, more relaxed, more centered. Perhaps you actually have some feelings that came up during the breathing exercise that are a little uncomfortable, something that you may need to deal with after the session is over. Both of those are good to acknowledge. So just take a moment and check in with yourself. And as you do that, see if you can land on 2 words to express how you're feeling. 2 words to describe how you feel in this moment. Perhaps peaceful, hopeful, or perhaps eager, curious. Whatever those 2 words might be, and if it's a phrase, that's okay too. If you have a piece of paper handy, go ahead and write them down. Later on in this session, I'll have you check in again, and it will be interesting for you to note if your feelings at the end of the session are similar to those you're having now, or if they change over the course of the session. So just record them. Okay, so we've been still focusing on breathing, but not moving too much. And it's time to bring some movement to this practice and get that blood flowing. If you've noticed in your workday that you tend to sit for long periods of time, especially after the students are gone, or maybe even sometimes when they're in class with you, or if you're in a position where you're in an office, you're sitting at your computer a lot, we do need to take mindful breaks and add movement throughout our day. So here's a stretch you can do when you're sitting in your classroom or in front of your computer. Anytime is very simple, but when we are at our computers a lot or in a seated position, we tend to hunch over. And so we want to open our chest and stretch our back a little bit and get the blood flowing just through some gentle movement. So you can do this seated in a chair with the feet hip width apart and flat on the ground. and sitting in a nice relaxed position, but maybe scooch back a little bit so that your spine is aligned, but relaxed. And you can close your eyes or soften your gaze for this, and we'll return to that gentle, calming breath. It can be a deep diaphragmatic breathing if that serves you, or just a relaxed but slowed breathing pace. And we're going to just do some shoulder rolls to begin. Just gently up, back, down, up, back, down, and then you can reverse that and come up, forward, and down just a few times. Just kind of loosen up. And I like to just gently bring my ear towards one shoulder, coming back to center, and then the other. And if it helps you to place a hand on the side of the head and just very gently bring some pressure to help gently stretch a little further, you may do that. And then looking over one shoulder and gently stretching the neck, back to center, into the other side. Now this time we're going to go into a little bit of a twist. So again, the spine should be nice and aligned and lengthened. So think about a string that comes down the spine to the base of the spine behind you and goes all the way up through the spine, through the crown of the head. And if someone were to just gently tug on that string and bring you into a nice tall alignment. And then we're going to inhale our arms up, reaching towards the ceiling, and exhale. And as we do so, we're going to reach the left hand over the right knee, and the right hand comes behind us. Now, if we have a chair with an arm, we can simply hold on to the arm, or we can reach around to the back of the chair as well, if that's within your body's ability. But we're going to gently twist here. Inhale to sit up nice and tall. Exhale, leveraging the hand on the knee and the hand on the back of the chair to begin to twist over to the right. And inhale to lengthen through the spine. Exhale, deepen into the twist, maybe looking over our right shoulder. And while we're here, doing a little bit of eye stretching too. So as we look over our shoulder, using that peripheral vision, maybe rolling our eyeballs in our sockets, looking as far over to the right as we can. Inhale. Exhale, deepen into that twist, exercising the eyes. And then gently coming back to center, centering ourselves for a minute. Inhale, exhale, and we'll do the other side. Inhaling the arms out and up. Exhaling, twisting the right hand comes to the outside of the left knee, left arm placed on the arm of the chair or the back. Inhale, sitting up nice and tall. Exhale, twisting to the left, looking over our left shoulder. Inhaling, lengthening through the spine. And exhaling, again, maybe using some eyeball exercises as we look over our left shoulder, enjoying that nice stretch and twist. And gently releasing and coming back to center. If you would like to roll it out a little bit more, feel free to take a moment, and I hope that feels good in your body. The next activity is called a resilience meditation. In times of stress, as we've been living in for several years, we want to find ways to empower ourselves and create a feeling of positivity and possibility for ourselves. We want to bring to mind those things that support us and make us feel positive and strong. This resilience meditation is one of my favorites for this. We're going to come back to a comfortable seated position, and you can close your eyes for this or just soften your gaze. So feet are hip width apart and flat on the ground, and your spine is lengthened but relaxed. Place your palms face up on your lap and close your eyes if it feels comfortable to you. And begin to breathe deeply. You can go back to that calming breath that we practiced earlier, but really connect with your breath. Just let the breath be your focus for the moment. And this is a meditation that I like to share because it can help center you as well as help you identify some goals that you may be working on or reaching towards. And it's 3 simple statements, and we'll do one at a time. And I will say them out loud, and you may say them out loud in your own space or silently if perhaps you're listening to this in an environment where you cannot speak aloud. Either is fine. But what I will have you do is complete the statement, I have, and insert something that you have as a support in your life. For example, I have coworkers that care for me. I have a healthy body. I have a kind heart. I have the ability to change the situation. So take a moment while you're focusing on your breath to think about how you will complete the statement, I have. And when you're ready, take a nice deep breath in. And on the exhale, say or think your I have statement. And again, inhaling, exhaling, I have. One more time. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, fill the belly. Exhale what you have. And the next statement we'll complete is an I can statement. For example, I can choose to answer others with kindness. I can ask for help if needed. I can ask for a moment to formulate my thoughts. Again, just relax your breathing while you think of your I can statement. And when you are ready, inhale nice and deeply. And exhale, completing the sentence, I can. Inhaling, exhaling, I can. Inhaling, exhaling your statement, I can. And finally, we'll complete the sentence, I am. Think about something positive about yourself, something productive, words that support who you are or who you are striving to be. For example, I am strong enough to get through this, or I am smart enough to figure this out, or I am able to change my thoughts, or I am worthy, I am loved. When you have arrived at your I am statement, take 3 cycles of inhale and exhale, inhaling to fill the belly, lengthen through the spine, and exhaling, I am. Inhaling, exhaling, I am. Inhaling, exhaling, I am. When you feel complete, you may gently open your eyes, return your breathing to natural. Now, how do you feel? Did any of your statements, your I have, I can, or I am statements, reveal anything surprising to you? Perhaps there's something that you spoke to yourself that you want to hold on to after this session, something to take away with you and begin to incorporate into your daily life. And now let's think about a way to take what we just did and those phrases we just said to ourselves and think about our wellness journey. We are on a journey towards wellness, and we will never be perfect, and we will never be able to say we're at a final destination. We will most likely be able to feel good about where we are at points along the way, but our wellness will always change. Our needs will change. How we pursue that journey will change. So think about your wellness journey with ing words. We want to phrase our goals and also our current reality in a positive way and think about what we're doing right and what we're doing well. And we can think about how we want to grow and enhance, but we want to do that in a way where we acknowledge what we are already doing. I know you're all doing things. You're probably working very hard to try to take care of yourself. You want to give yourself credit for that. And then think about how to continue to grow. So right now, I'd like you to think about your I have, I can, I am statements, and then think about an ing word or a phrase, could be several words together, but using an ing word in there that expresses your wellness journey. Perhaps, I am working on my wellness. I am growing in my self-care skills. I am practicing patience. I am trying to find balance in my life. I am learning how to relax. So just take a moment and phrase your wellness journey with a positive phrase and an ing word. Now, wellness is not just breathing and meditation. All of that's wonderful, and those are great strategies to use if they work for you. But taking care of ourselves is a much bigger picture. It takes concrete actions in several areas of our lives, frankly. So we are going to look at how the social emotional learning framework breaks wellness down into 4 dimensions: physical, mental, social, and emotional. But before we look at the descriptions, I want you to center your thoughts around yourself. Teachers and others involved in education are naturally caregivers. And we tend to sacrifice ourselves a lot for those that we care for, whether it's our students, the teachers on our staff, maybe it's our loved ones at home. And we tend to put their priorities ahead of ours and therefore not take as good a care of ourselves as we could. But this session, this time, is about you. So I want you to consider how well you take care of you. And again, set aside any judgment or criticism. Let's try to stay in that positive headspace where we're looking at what we're doing well and doing right. And as you read the descriptions, you may feel that in some areas you're helpless to do any better. Maybe there are factors outside of your control, and current circumstances make something impossible at the moment. But there are other areas you know that you can control and you can have some effect on. So as you read these descriptions, have compassion and grace towards yourself, and also think about your assets, what it is you are doing right and well. And then we'll have you think about ways you could enhance and expand your wellness. And later in the session, we'll do some activities that help you identify where you might enhance and expand and ways in which to do that. Take a few moments to read through the descriptions on the framework of the 4 dimensions and the routines for each one. There may be some things you hadn't considered before.
next link is a self-evaluation rubric. So again, trying to think about what you're doing well. Look for where you fall on the rubric between does not meet and fully achieves. And probably you're somewhere in the middle there on a lot of these. And maybe some of these descriptions fit you pretty well, and others are something that you would want to reach towards. After you take a look at the rubric and do a little bit of rating on yourself, see if there's an area that you'd like to work on. And I encourage you to be focused and just pick one area. We can't do it all, and I don't want to overwhelm you. That is definitely not the purpose of this session. So maybe just hone in on something that feels like it's your next step, an appropriate next step that is within reach, and identify that. Okay, now that you've read the framework and evaluated yourself on the rubric, identify a meaningful goal, something that matters or is important to you. It could be something you want to do or something you want to get better at. You're going to take a piece of paper and draw one big circle with a smaller circle inside of it, just like the example I have here. Make sure you leave space to write in both circles. Label the smaller inner circle "can do" and the bigger one "not yet." In the can do circle, answer the following. When I think about my goal, 1 to 2 things I can already do are, and populate that inner circle with all the things that you are already doing or are easily available to you to do now that you're thinking about them. In the outer not yet circle, answer this question. When I think about my goal, 1 to 2 things I cannot yet do are. So this may be where on the rubric you saw some area for growth and you think that that's something you'd like to work on. This would be the area you identified. Go ahead and populate that outer circle with things you cannot yet do. When you're ready, and you've populated both of those circles, you're going to write a sentence at the bottom of the page or on the side of the page, wherever you have room. Here is your sentence starter. This week I will try. So think about those things in the not yet circle. Perhaps there's one that you know that if you work on it, you'll be able to do it. So this is something you can add into your wellness routines to enhance and expand your wellness in the area you want to work on. I encourage you to keep it simple, to keep it to just one thing or a very few, because you want it to be reasonable. This is something that you can work on in the near future in a concrete way. Now, you can always come back to this paper. You can add to the circles. Hopefully, you move some things from the not yet circle into the can do as you get better at them and as you figure out how to do them and get past any barriers. And also, you might update your strategy sentence, this week I'll try, with something new. It might be nice to pin this up somewhere you can see it or keep it in your journal if you keep a journal, or in some other way. Return to it and check back on your progress. So now you've really made some things concrete for your goals, and you've done a lot of thinking, a lot of breathing, a little meditation. I think it's time to move again. This is another breathing technique that I'm going to share with you, but it also incorporates some movement. So sometimes in our workday, we might feel fatigued in the middle of the day. Maybe we've been breathing shallowly or just rushing around. And we need to stop and take a few moments, first of all, to slow our breathing down, get more breath into our system, oxygenate our circulatory system, and re-energize ourselves. And also maybe bring a smile back to our face. So this is called breath of joy. Now, this might be difficult to do if you're in a public place, but if you have a few moments alone in your classroom, this is a great one to do maybe after lunch before the next group of students comes in or before your meeting starts. And you're going to want to be standing for this. We need a little bit of space around us. So I'm standing and my feet are hip width apart. Now keep in mind, your hips are not that big. So maybe take a look down and just see that your feet are aligned underneath your hips. There's a nice straight line down. And your legs are relaxed. Your knees are not locked. So if you need to do a little bend in the knee right now to make sure you're standing in a relaxed position, go ahead and do that. Now this is a 3-part inhale and a 1-part exhale. So what we're going to do is we're going to be sipping in the air 3 sips as we raise our arms in 3 increments. And as we come to the top, we'll be stretching nice and tall, thinking about that long spine. And then as we exhale, we'll let it out all at once. We'll fold forward from the hips and just let it hang. And I want to hear some sound on this one with your breathing. So here we go. Inhaling 3 sips. Exhaling all at once. And just hang. Come back up to standing, and let's try that again. And let's just take it nice and slow on the inhale. Think about filling the belly first and then the chest. And then on the exhale, really let it go this time. Make some noise. Really let your body let it all out. Inhaling. And one more time. Inhaling. Exhale. How does that feel? I hope you feel good. I hope you're smiling, maybe feeling a little bit looser. Okay, hopefully you're feeling good, feeling positive, and you can now take a little bit of time to channel that positivity and that energy into something that you can take with you from today. I call it a mantra, and I hope that that word is not off-putting to any of you because my mantras are very simple. There's nothing mystic about this. I have a few simple principles when making a mantra. First of all, make them aspirational. Give voice to a goal, something that you would like to achieve, but make it reasonable, achievable, something that can be worked on maybe over the course of the next few weeks. And you can really make it concrete and specific then if it's an achievable goal that you can see progress on as you work towards it in the near future. But it should be definitely aspirational. Don't make it negative, something that you want to give up or get rid of. Make it positive. Use positive language. And then finally, just keep it simple. Keep it even broad and vague if that helps you, but not too complicated. You might use a starting phrase such as I am, I choose, or I have. For instance, maybe if you're working on calmness and connection, you might express it as I am calm, even if you're not always right now, but that is your aspirational goal. I am calm. I am connected to others. I am cared for and caring. Maybe I am letting go and taking care of me. If you're trying to say no more or you're trying to not have to control everything around you, maybe I am letting go, even if that's not something you're successful at all the time just yet. I choose is a nice one. That's a really strong word. I choose me. I choose to be happy. I choose how I spend my time. Or I have the power to create change. I have everything I need. So take a few moments. You can try those sentence starters or your own, but see if you can craft something that gives voice to what you've thought about in the last 15 or 20 minutes of this session with the circles and what you cannot yet do but have a strategy now to work on,
or those dimensions of wellness? Where were you on the rubric, and what's a direction you'd like to go? And perhaps you can put something into a simple phrase that will voice that and make it concrete. And when you have a phrase, write it down. And then you're going to live with it for a while. Say it often. In those moments, maybe when you're having a moment of struggle, a moment of stress, when something is frustrating you and you're tempted to let it out, find that mantra, say it to yourself. And you'll discover whether it is a good guide for you or perhaps it needs to be revised a bit. If you live with it and you repeat it and you try to use it, you'll see if it's going to sit with you well and be useful. But mantras are living things and they are not static. And so if you need to revise it and adjust it, please do. And if it works for you, please use it. And know that also it may not work for you forever because you are going to grow and change. And so your mantra may need to grow and change. But for now, if it is a phrase that helps you remember your goals and keep them very present in your mind and come back to that place where you are taking care of yourself first and foremost, then it is a tool for you. And I'd like to come back and check in with you again, as I said I would at the beginning. So again, just find a nice, calm, seated position. Maybe place both hands either on your belly, near your diaphragm, or on your heart, and just take a few breaths and a moment to check in with how you're doing now. Your eyes can be closed or gaze softened, whichever feels more comfortable for you. And you can do a deep calming breath or just a natural breath, whatever you need right now. Check in with the emotions you're experiencing. Every emotion is welcome. Give yourself permission to be exactly as you are right now. Take a few more moments to connect with your breath and connect with how you're feeling in your body. And choose 2 words to describe how you are feeling now. And when you have those 2 words, you can open your eyes. Go back to that paper where you wrote your 2 words at the beginning of the session and add the 2 words now. Are you feeling the same? Is there a difference? How do you feel now compared to the beginning of the session? And just take a moment to acknowledge. Perhaps if there's anything in this session today that was helpful to you, take a moment to think about what that was. It may be something you'd like to continue to practice. If there was anything in the session today that brought up some discomfort, that might be something worth exploring at a later time when you feel safe in a safe environment or when you have support to help you do that. But it's just helpful to note and acknowledge and be present with our feelings. And if it feels good to do a neck roll, a shoulder roll, anything else to complete yourself as we end this session. Thank you for your time and for coming to this session. I hope that it was useful, and I hope that there are some strategies that you will take with you and continue to practice and benefit from. And I would love any feedback that you are willing to give me, so please utilize the survey. Thank you and be well.